Okay, thank you for coming and welcome to the presentation about cellular renewal. I want to thank the co-op for allowing the space to be utilized and to offer this for you, and to hopefully provide you with more information about how your body functions. Unfortunately, we're not told and taught how our body actually works in its regenerative capacities. So my goal in the last 3 lectures have been to give you complete and accurate data that's, by the way, on my website, and it's on the YouTube channel. So you can watch it, read it, see it, and all this data I'm giving you today, and the resources will be there. So, forever.
And the address of your website is?
You could find the YouTube channel by typing in my name, which is Richard Lear, on YouTube, and that will give you my YouTube channel. And then from there at the end, I have connections to where the PowerPoint presentations are. So you actually can go right to the PowerPoint presentation and see the data directly. You don't have to listen to me hear me talking.
Richard, I'm
Yes.
embarrassed. What's your last name again?
L-E-I-R-E-R. Richard, L-E-I-R-E-R. My expertise is in Chinese medicine, and I've been trained in Chinese medicine both by Chinese masters here in the United States and in China. My work that I did with the Cleveland Clinic was about surgery rehabilitation, and it had to do a lot with how the body can regenerate. And so I worked on, first started with 3 surgeries that I was in, and I was able to demonstrate less blood loss, faster healing time by doing energetic functions. At that time, which was the early 90s, the excitement in the community, and I was in Cleveland, Ohio, was at the Cleveland Clinic. The excitement was generated by work that was done in both the Cleveland area and the Pittsburgh area on stem cells and what stem cells are. So all of my work has been about how stem cells work, how your body regenerates, and how you have to get blood flow to get that cellular regeneration to take place. So the first thing I want you to let you know that only 10% of all illnesses is hereditary. We have this notion that, oh, it's in my genes. I got a bad gene. My mother only lived so far. My grandmother had diabetes. I had heart disease. It's nonsense. All diseases are related to genetic changes, and most of them are epigenetic changes. Epigenetic means above the regular gene, that something changed the gene to basically go bad. So 90% of all illnesses are controllable by you, which is important to know. 93% of all aging is lifestyle. So it's not, again, your gene that you were born with, there's nothing you can do about it. So the thing is designed to allow you to think that you have options and you have choices, and those choices will help you become a healthier, stronger person. Healthy habits enhance cellular remodeling and longevity. Every cell in your body has a limited lifespan. That's the part that we're not told and we're not taught. So every single cell has a limited lifespan, and it's less than you think. I'll be going over what that lifespan is. Physical mechanotransduction is the key to cell health. It's a big, long word, and people don't even know about it. In fact, probably most of your doctors don't even know about it. But mechanotransduction, I'll explain to you, is the physical method that is needed for you to create, it's called piezoelectricity, that will activate a cell and to be able to generate that new blood formation and those new stem cells in your bone marrow. My other lectures, I went into deep detail about mechanotransduction and what it means. Bioelectricity, the activity of the cell, and the acupuncture system are basically the same. Over here, you can see on the wall acupuncture channels. There are 20 major acupuncture channels in the body, and those major channels are similar to, you would think, your peripheral nervous system, because all of the channels carry electricity, and all of the points on the channel have been measured to have bioelectricity in them, meaning ranging from 1 to 3 ohms at particular acupuncture sites. Every cell in your body that is alive has bioelectricity. But you have many cells in your body that are no longer alive. They're called senescent cells. They're cells that have died. And they're floating around in there, and they have to be taken out of your body. So my previous lecture on your immune system went into great detail of how you take out those senescent cells, those other dead cells in your body. Because your immune system isn't functioning properly, those cells are going to stay there, and they're going to wreak havoc with your health. All our cells, by the way, have memory, and our thoughts interfere with that cell memory. Again, if you look at my other lectures, I know many of you weren't here at the one I gave, they did an interesting study with, started with a flatworm. And the flatworm has this wonderful regenerative capacity. So a flatworm literally can have its head chopped off and still live. But if you learn, most of us, I think, were trained, or at least taught to know about Pavlov's dog or Skinner's pigeon, that you would be able to train someone to respond to a stimuli, basically to get fed, and they would do it over and over again. So they trained this flatworm to go over a little lever in order to get fed. Well, they chopped its head off, and it still went over the lever to get fed. And this was the first time we realized that cellular memory is at a level beyond what we originally thought. We thought it was all stored up here in our gray matter. That's only one function. So your cells are really important. Part of the cellular memory is about the effect of your mind's attitude towards things that are maybe conscious, pre-conscious, and subconscious. So sometimes I did an exercise with people about the effects of psychoneuroimmunology. And this was a repeat of something that was done in the late 80s. Originally was done at Harvard and then at a couple other universities. So do I have a volunteer? Somebody want to volunteer? It won't be hard.
A volunteer, what do
Amy.
you have to do?
Nothing bad. Amy volunteered. So you stay right there, Amy.
Okay.
So you better stand up.
Okay.
So what was done in the research was they had clients put their hands out like this. Okay, put their hands out at a certain level, so their hands are out in front of you. And they took a baseline measurement of how much weight that person could resist. So what they did is they put a pulley behind it, and they said, resist my push. Okay? So the weight was here. Good. And I got a background measurement that said she could resist 10 pounds or 20 pounds or whatever the number was. Then they had to do the same thing after recovery time, so their muscles weren't fatigued. They put their hands back up there again. And now I want you to say 3 times, I'm weak and feeble.
I'm weak and feeble, I'm weak and feeble.
It was up to a 65% drop just by saying words. Now, we have, and let me recover for a minute. We have a culture that loves to bitch and moan, whine, right?
Yeah.
We do. It's like we oh, you know what happened to me? Oh, I had this problem, I got this difficulty, I got this and that. So we like to have that. That gives us compassion from other people because we share it. But what it also does is does something to ourselves. So if you come back there again, but the same way, now this time say 3 times, I'm strong.
I'm strong, I'm strong, I'm strong.
Okay, thank you very
What's
much.
this wrong again?
Well, this is a muscle testing that was designed to demonstrate psychoneuroimmunology, which is the mind's physical reaction to both your nerves and your immune system. Since cells only last a short period of time. Again, if you go to my other first lecture, it'll give you a list of all cells that are there. I just gave you some of them. 2.5% of your blood died yesterday. Did you know that? 2.5% of your blood dies every day. Guaranteed. It only lasts somewhere between 90 and 120 days for a healthy person. Most of us in this room are a little bit older. It's probably only lasts than 80 days. That's all that lives. Then it dies. But my other lectures talked a lot about how your immune system has to get those dead cells out of your body. But it's not just your blood. Your stomach intestinal cells, your stomach cells only last 1 day. The intestinal cells will last 2 or 3 days. your lung alveoli, the thing that captures oxygen. It only lasts 8 days. That's it. And then it dies. Your skeletal system is replaced. Your heart, the cardiomyocytes, 10 to 15% are replaced every year. So every single cell in your body has a limited life cycle. But you're not told that. I wasn't told that when I went to school. When I went to, it's like, who told you these things were happening? And we really didn't know about it until late 88, early 90, again, when the information came out and people began to share that information and show specifically how long these things last. So why aren't we living forever? Well, the problem is there's a method about getting waste out of your body, and there's ways to get enhanced cellular reaction or cellular rejuvenation or regeneration, and there's ways that hinder it. All regeneration comes from stem cells. All of your new blood is formed in your stem cells. All of those new cells that are dividing again and again are done by stem cells. And those stem cells are made in your body. Adult stem cells are only made in the flat bones of your body. So a person who's growing up, a child, up to the age of about 25, they're making stem cells in every part of their bone. So the bone is where, and the bone marrow is where the stem cells are made. So with the child up to a young adult, it's being made everywhere. After that time, it's only made in the flat bones of an adult. So the flat bones are your wing bone, your rib, the sternum, and the hip. Mechanotransduction is the mechanism to send the cellular signal to make new blood. So if you're not having any forms of inward, downward pressure on those flat bones, you will not be sending a signal to the interior of the bone, where the bone marrow is, to make the new blood and have that new blood formation beginning to be circulated. There's another thing we'll talk about later on, erythropoietin, which is a chemical that the kidney will secrete that also tells the body it needs more blood. But even if it tells the body it needs more blood, it's not going to get the signal unless the mechanotransduction is taking place on those flat bones.
So what would happen if this happens? If it doesn't get the signal, what would happen?
You will not create as much stem cells as you would need, and you would create less blood.
And this leads to?
A complete cellular decline. So the cell is not getting enough stem cells to regenerate, and then the body will have to decide, where am I going to send it to? So the body makes decisions of saying, where do I send blood to first? So guess where it sends it to at first? Brain. Sends it up here. Then it sends it to the organs. The math makes look at organs. Where does it send it to last?
Feet.
Your bad knee, right? Your bad ankle, your bad knee, the parts that would be in other areas. So it prioritizes where it's going to be sent to. All cells that are alive have bioelectricity, and dysregulation of the bioelectricity produces cancers. What that means is that the cell is shooting off an electrical charge that can be measured. If that spikes higher or lower, that affects the cell. And cells then get dysregulated, and the cells, because they're constantly growing, get out of control. So there's regulators that tell them only to grow so long and so much. What we know about cancers is that they continue to grow. The natural cycle of the decline, which is in your immune system, by the way, is not there. And the natural killer cells and the T cells that normally look at these cells as being aberrant in the body, if they're not being made in your bone marrow, you don't have enough of them to destroy it early on. Most cancers, by the way, start years in advance before you even recognize they're there. Minimum 3-4 years before you even recognize that it has already caught hold and is developing in the body. Yeah, this word mechanotransduction is a process in which physical forces are sensed and turned into biochemical and electrical signals. This is the specifics about it. Again, if you want to look up this information, go ahead, but I'm telling you, it means physical pressure on certain body parts to make them reproduce or to create the bioelectricity in the first place. I don't want to bore people with something. An ancient system. It's very interesting. This is how Dr. Spencer Adams talked about it. It's an electrical phenomenon that is actively generated by cells and that's applied to cells to affect all cell phenotypes, means all types of cells. By electric phenomena, I mean biological cell function or activity that depends on a separate charge or voltage. So you have to have that charge that goes to the ions to make it actually create electricity. All cells that are alive have bioelectricity. If it doesn't, the cell is dead. Piezoelectricity is produced by our body's proteins by our connective tissues that are capable of converting mechanical energy into energy in the body. This is something telling you why acupuncture works, because the tissue fibers wind around an acupuncture needle after insertion, and that movement simply creates a mechanical force that will increase the piezoelectricity within the body. Same thing could happen if you press it, by the way. The same thing will happen if you move it. If I move my leg, I'm moving and creating a physical force that will actually enhance the cellular electricity inside your body. But let's imagine if you're laying down and not doing anything. You know what the answer is going to be. You're not going to be producing what you need. This is specific, research and information about the bioelectricity and the acupuncture points. I mentioned that there are 20 major channels in the body. Of those channels, originally there were said to be 360 of them. There's a few more that have been found since then. But this was found 2,500 years ago. And the Chinese knew 2,500 years ago that you had bioelectricity in your body, and they called it qi. And they knew that you had stem cells in your body, and they called it jing. They knew you had cellular consciousness, and they called it shen. So they knew about this stuff 2,500 years ago, and it was part of their medicine, and is still part of their medicine. It wasn't until recent times that we got the chance to validate what they're saying. When they said your body will regenerate, no one believed them. Now we have facts that it does. Okay, these are some of the piezoelectrical coefficients for particular body parts. Again, it's boring for some of you, but if you want to know the science behind it, so it's telling you for collagen factors like bone, skin, tendons, this is what you have to have as far as the electrical charge in order to make them be functional.
Is there a machine to test this for people?
Your body's doing it at this level.
She wanted to test your body to find out.
I didn't bring my machine that does test it, so you do have some things that I could test points on your body that will give you an indication of whether or not you are being, what's the word, electrical. Charged, right. There are some methods that can give you a charge and increase the charge. Again, any type of pressure will do it. There's also separate electroacupuncture that you could get or receive. It's not really needed because the acupuncture itself will automatically induce the proper bioelectricity that's needed. But this is just the specifics about how it is. Look at the bottom then, by the way, cementum is the first thing that your tooth grows from. So it goes from cementum to dentum, then to
Richard, don't you get it, if you're barefoot on the earth, don't you get that electrical charge then
if
too?
you're barefoot on the earth, you get good health for it. And bottom of the foot, you see right here, this is the a base, most important acupuncture point for the kidney. So the kidney is going to do it. So you will get some of that earth charging as you stand on the earth. So it's good to walk barefoot. And it's good to have your feet touching the earth. I went about the teeth, cementum and dentum. So your first layer of growth, you have 5 different you have 5 different forms of stem cells in your dental pulp. So you're going to see a big change in dentistry in the next, within 12 to 15 years. Because now we're finding a way to utilize stem cells in ways that would beat the marketplace. I'm telling you about what you can do now for yourself at home every day, but there's an industry about medicine that's out there that says, people don't want to move, people don't want to exercise, people don't want to press a point. So if they don't want to do that, how can I then make the stem cells work for you? So that's the industry that's growing. And you're going to see big things in dental work right now. By the way, if you do not have proper stem cells in your dental pulp, you can't have a good transplant. So if you've got dental transplants, in order for them to be successful, have to have stem cells inside that pulp. And again, it tells you what the electrical charge is. This is a diagram that tells you about mesenchymal stem cells. All it shows you comes from the bone marrow, and from the bone marrow it differentiates into different areas here. So you're seeing on one side, on the far left, that it shows you how they differentiate into bone. It shows you how it becomes into cartilage, how it turns into muscle, how it becomes inside the bone marrow, how it becomes a tendon or other forms of connective tissues. So every cell of your body only has a limited life cycle. Every cell of your body is regenerated through adult stem cell. All adult stem cells are formed in the flat bones of an adult body. Then they have to circulate. They have to get to different places. This is a little talk about some of that regeneration.
The human body is formed from a single cell that divides into trillions of cells which make up the unique
Is that too loud or?
organs of our bodies. All cells in the human body carry the same genetic material. The only way that
Sorry, I'm trying to get your closed caption to appear in here.
they know how to interact, behave, and form the organs is because of the context that surrounds them. This context is called the extracellular matrix. The extracellular matrix is a dynamic three-dimensional network that provides stability, signaling, and structural support to the organs. The main type of proteins in the extracellular matrix is collagens. Several different types of collagen exist. One example is type 1 collagen that creates fibers and provides strength and support to the organs. Another example is type 4 collagen that is found below the cells. Type 4 collagen forms a structure that helps maintain the barrier between tissue compartments and work as the first line of defense. It interacts with other proteins and thereby enables signaling to the cells. The collagens are different in all organs of the human body. This means that the collagens of the heart are different from the collagens of the liver and lungs. In the lungs, for example, the alveoli membrane is mainly composed of type 4 collagen,
Only last 8 days, by the way.
which helps the exchange of oxygen into the blood. During development of chronic diseases such as lung fibrosis, the collagens in the interstitial matrix expand. The tissue becomes stiff, leading to a decreased lung function that can be life-threatening for the patient.
Chinese have a saying, again, 2,000 years ago, that said, the way of life is soft and supple. The way of death is hard and brittle. Just go outside and look. So it's a key aspect of things. And I'm going to go about how these cells divide. Soft doesn't mean weak. So being soft means you have to be like a plant. So a plant has structure, it has firmness for it. And it's relative to the plant or the tree or whatever the thing would be that's growing out there. The same thing for us. So some parts are a little bit more dense than others, like our bone, but other parts need to be soft. And you have hardness, it constricts it. But if it's too soft, meaning if there's too much cellulite in there, that isn't going to allow things to be able to function properly. And I'm going to get into why that works later about what happens with calories and with fat tissues, basically.
The change in the collagens is seen not only in lung diseases but in most chronic diseases, such as cancer and cardiovascular diseases. The common denominator of all chronic diseases is severe tissue damage resulting in cell death and changes in collagen composition. Inflammatory cells migrate to the site of damage, secrete proteases, and consequently break down the collagen fibers, releasing collagen fragments into the environment. Fibroblasts are then activated to build large, complex collagen fibers. To form the fibers, the fibroblasts secrete collagen proteins. During this process, end fragments are cleaved off to enable attachment of the collagen proteins to each other. Just like building blocks, the proteins come together to produce the strong fibers. The cleaved off fragments are then released into the environment where they attract more inflammatory cells. This maintains the vicious circle of build-up and breakdown of collagens that fuel the chronic diseases. Both the build-up and breakdown collagen fragments are released into the blood, where they circulate together with blood cells and can be used as targets for blood-based biomarkers. Collagens are structured as a triple helix, where different domains of the same collagen provide unique information. Some fragments reflect tissue build-up, some reflect tissue breakdown, and others are signaling fragments. In patients with chronic diseases, there is an increase in tissue build-up, tissue breakdown, and signaling fragments, while in healthy subjects, there is a finely tuned balance of the tissue. The levels of tissue remodeling vary from the individual chronic diseases, both in terms of tissue build-up and tissue breakdown, as well as the types of collagens involved. Nordic Bioscience protein.
Okay, so they go into their advertisement about how they're going to look at those biomarkers to help you to find out what's taking place. Important part was they're explaining to you how the system works. So you have a visualization of what's taking place in your body. All tissue damage, all cellular damage, has a 3-stage response, which I mentioned before in those my other talks. The first stage is inflammation. So inflammation is actually your friend, if the second 2 phases go or proceed properly. So inflammation is to surround the area that has been damaged, even from a small thing to a large thing. And then it's to do the second stage, which is called proliferation. Proliferation is then, it's setting up what is needed to repair what has been damaged. If it can do that, the third stage is regeneration. So what normally happens under chronic inflammation is that the inflammation is there, but the proliferation ain't taking place because you don't have the material to, it's kind of like a construction that they're waiting for the cement to come in. You don't have the material to finish the job. So that all diseases go through the same process. Inflammation, proliferation, regeneration. It's always the same. You want to enhance the proliferation and you want to enhance then the regeneration. We have a culture, the first thing you do is you fall down and bang your knee or your elbow. What's the first thing that most people do after that happens?
Owie.
Ow, you say ow. And then they may put their hand on it, which would be a great thing. But then normally they put ice on it. What is ice going to do for the blood flow? It's going to constrict it. It's going to stop it. Now what ice will do will be deaden the nerve. So the nerve won't be there and your pain signal will go away because the nerve will be deadened and the blood flow is not going to go there. So sometimes it's okay to do that because you need to have, if you're in that much pain. But the second stage is as you have to get it to, after that subsides, is to get the proliferation stage to take place, meaning it has to bring the parts that's going to build the part that's broken or it needs to be replaced or damaged. It takes out some of the dead cells or broken cells that are there and then makes new ones. So try to make sure that you, if you have things that are swelling, it's actually, if it's not giving you too much pain, massage it gently and Put heat on it. What do you think will heat do with your blood flow? It'll increase it, it'll increase it. Exercise. We have to exercise at least 21 minutes a day. It's a key factor for health and longevity. And even if you can't move, you sit in a chair, you exercise. That's why I did work in the Cleveland Clinic Hospital. They wheeled people out in the hospital beds and in wheelchairs. And I had them doing exercise. They recovered faster, and that's why I was there for so long, because they wanted me to continue doing it to get the patient out of the hospital. They still got the same amount of money. And they made more room for someone else to come in. You don't have to do heavy exercise. In fact, some exercises are actually harmful for you. High aerobic exercise increases free radicals in your body, creates oxidative stress. Runners live the least of all athletes. Runners.
They what?
They have the lowest longevity. Their average age is like 66 years. Weightlifters, same area. Weightlifters, every time you have heavy weight, you're actually breaking down tissue, you're creating a free radical in your body, and if you're not circulating it properly, you're going to actually have an increase of a reactive oxygen species, or the free radical in your body. You're not making superoxide dismutase to take it away. By the way, if you did Tai Chi and Qigong and exercises like that, you would highly enhance your superoxide dismutase, and that will start taking away the free radical damage. Yes?
Is the free radical same by dead stem cells?
No, a free radical is the cell itself has the wrong level of oxygen flowing into it, and it's growing deformed. All cancers, by the way, come from a free radical of some kind, meaning that cellular change has been altered by something placed in it. Sleep at least 7 to 8 hours a night. I saw one study that said they could go down at least to 6.5. But if you're not getting at least 6.5 hours a night, those cells are not going to be responding properly. A positive mental outlook, again, social interactions, connecting with people is very, very important to make the cells in your body be happy. That little song, Don't Worry, Be Happy, it's a wonderful little tune, you know. I think I'll play it for you later. Psychoneuroimmunology is that big word that I had Amy work on with I'm weak and feeble, I'm strong. So this is how the cycle works. It affects the nervous system, the endocrine system, and the immune system. Your immune system crashes when you're having negative thoughts. What takes place is it's just alarming. And then you don't do anything. Then things like chronic fatigue develop. When you have chronic fatigue, it's like you're still going to do anything less. And then the cycle's going to be reversed back to it, to doing less and less each time and having less cellular modeling. Again, here's it tells you some specifics about what's happening with the thyroid, the adrenal, the stress factors, your pain, your inflammation go up. So you see what cytokines do, what hormones do. So all of this development is based on your sense of stress. Now what's interesting is that Pam said to me, Richard, try to remain calm when you're out there talking in front of people. I don't want your stress level to go high. That was very nice of her to say that. But some people, this is stressful. For me, it's not stressful. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy sharing information. Yet, other situations that you might find to be really easy might be stressful to me. You know, sitting down talking about how your day went will bring high stress to me, probably. Like, tell me science. Tell me, that's things that I enjoy. But other with things that little social interactions that people love to do, to me, I don't get excited about it. So it's like, oh God, I got to listen to this again. But I might be because I'm a guy too, by the way. So I'm not sure about that. But I'm trying to build up those skills. Okay, a little bit about calorie restriction and aging in humans. And this is a kind of a title that I want you to just be aware of. It's because we are in a calorie excess society right now. So calorie restriction means that we're in a calorie excess. A calorie excess leads to problems inside your body. Calorie excess leads to chronic hyperglycemia and hyperlipidemia, which is swelling. Turns to cellular glycotoxicity and lipotoxicity, respectively, results in systemic low-grade inflammation and oxidative stress. Low physical activity exacerbates this mechanism by reducing the mitochondrial function and the antioxidant capacity of cells and tissues. Physically, caloric excess and low physical activity will increase this fat mass and cause decline in skeletal muscle mass, strength, and physical fitness. Lifestyle can greatly influence susceptibility to disease, specifically among the elderly who are already vulnerable due to their advanced age. Independent of the effects of the primary aging, both glycotoxicity and lipotoxicity increase susceptibility to neuropathy, liver disease, the list goes on. So what does that mean?
Oh, shoot.
Okay, so what is the level of calorie restriction? So it's not a big thing. I'm going to talk about it, so people get excited about it. So, oh my God, I got to go on a diet. You see over here it says 7 pillars of aging: adaptive stress, inflammation, metabolism, macromolecular damage, proteostasis, which is protein development, epigenetic modifications, and stem cells and regeneration. So these 7 things are a key factor for all aspects of longevity. Number 1 of those is this idea about what happens with excess intake of food. Calorie restriction, by the way, this the research that I was quoting from, they had people that were healthy people who are normally on, they were people who were not registered as being overweight. They were regular normal people within a healthy body range. They had about a 2,000 calorie diet. They reduced that by 18%, and they showed a longevity factors of up to 7 to 17% as far as a range, by simply reducing it to about an 1,800 or 16 to 1,800 calorie a day diet. My caloric intake is somewhere between 1,300 and 1,500 calories, and it has been for quite a while. I don't have to eat much to function. I'll be 7 years old next month. I have absolutely no health complaints of any kind, of any way, and I don't eat a lot. So, and I think I have extra, padding here. So, not that much extra, but I do have some extra, right? So you can do it.
Gotta do sit-ups.
Yeah, I do sit-ups every morning, by the way, yes. I do 25 sit-ups every morning and 35 push-ups every morning. That increases my level of mechanotransduction on the flat bones. On my previous lectures, I asked many of you to start doing a wall push-up. I said every one of you could go to the wall and you can start doing an easy push-up like this. That's going to put that weight on the flat bones in the back and the sternum, and that's going to increase your stem cell production and get that. Remember, the stem cell, not only stem cells, but the new blood production. And the new blood is where you're going to have the macrophages. Remember, the macrophages from our previous talk is the big eaters. So the big eaters, meaning they eat dead cells. So the big eaters come and they take out the dead cells in your body, or they take out the cells that have been attacked by your immune system.
When you say big eater, you mean a certain type of food?
Oh no, I'm talking about in your cells of your body. So inside the cells of your body, you have something that takes away waste. And it's called a macrophage. And this thing is in your blood, and that word macro means big, phages means an eater. So it's a Greek word for big eaters. So if you are producing those at a high level in your body, they're going to be eating the bad things in your body and taking them out. This is an idea of a healthy diet. 5 servings of veggies a day, 4 servings of fruit. Avoid fruit juices that have a high sugar content. 5 to 6 servings of whole grains, some proteins from nuts, legumes. I'm a vegetarian, have been for 52 years. I did injure myself, Lorena. I was lifting something heavy and had what's called a popliteal tear in my completely ruptured a tendon that connects here. About 7 months ago, it's 95% healed. I just simply massage it every day because I know the stem cells are going to connect it, and it's reconnected now into my tissue where the tendon meets the bone. So I started eating a little bit of fish. I felt really bad, but I would go here and I got some of their fish in water. But I know that that would help my collagen production. So I needed more collagen to be able to grow new tissue because I damaged the old tissue that was there. All right, I like this because I love the Tai Chi symbol. So, because I'm a Tai Chi teacher and Tai Chi really is everything. But it shows you that this proteostasis is this idea of the protein development in the cell. So it shows you how a cell goes through a process of manifesting into something. So all of our cells are based on some levels of different proteins. So how proteins are developed. Problem happens is that this aggregation, because of stress in the protein expression, becomes deformed. And so that then stops your body from making the proper proteins, which will then properly make your cells function. By the way, when that symbol goes the other way, that means it's going to be healthily regenerating. Tai Chi symbol shows this as reduction. But that Tai Chi symbol goes the other way, it means mutual production. So it's helping each other. All right, these mesenchymal stem cells I talked about before. So when I said that you were a child, it shows you a newborn up to, has 1 in 10,000 of the cells being made that are mesenchymal stem cells, which can become anything. Remember, you're growing and becoming something. And it shows you what happens at teen years, then at age 30, then at 50, then over 80. So you have 1 in 2 million stem cells made at the age of 80, as opposed to you had when you were a newborn. So you see that difference.
You make more as you get older?
You make less. So of it's a ratio. So your level that you're making declines. And it doesn't decline because of age. It declines because you don't do as much as you did when you were a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 20-year-old. You're not doing the activity. So where are these stem cells made? In the bone marrow of your flat bones. So if you're doing things to increase them, meaning mechanotransduction or pressure on the flat bones, you're going to be increasing the stem cells that you have regardless of the aging. But since most people don't exercise when they age, it shows this decline. Without that stem cell, we're going to lead to great frailty. Because the cell can't, it's dividing anyway. Remember, it's only lasting so long. You won't have enough of them to properly reproduce yourself. Yes?
I have a question. I believe in weightlifting. That's one thing that I do. So that would be making stem cells.
If it was on the flat bones.
Yeah,
If I did something like,
you do,
yes,
this and you do.
some would be, yeah, if it has,
So you said weightlifting isn't good.
I said excess weightlifting will create free radicals in the body. Some weightlifting would be good, so you have to balance that amount.
Okay.
Doing
That's-
curls aren't going to help you at all. Doing a bench press will help you because that'll put the weight on that flat bone. How much you do of that would be okay. Doing too much of that, the bodybuilders, they're the ones that are creating too much free radicals in the body because they have too much damage to the muscle. Okay? So just the right amount of inward, downward pressure on any of the flat bones is a good thing. So I think a good a bench press, something like that, some leg motions, some leg, put weights on your leg, anything that'll think of pressure going to the bones that are flat.
So just walking for your hip bones.
Yes,
right?
walking is, I think walking is one of the best, it's the second best exercise. Tai Chi is the first.
Oh.
Walking is the second.
Well, I was gonna say like yoga or like planks or any of those.
Yoga, stretching, but something like downward dog
Yeah.
would
That
do
would
it.
be good.
Your downward dog would put the downward pressure on that.
Planks, push-ups.
Planks, the plow would do it really good on that. So doing those types are exceptional. A regular stretch isn't going to help you much.
Right.
Stretching doesn't, you have to have pressure on those bones. So anything that can do that is going to increase your, then you need the circulation. So now I'm making them, how do I get it out to here? So that's why the walking is one of the key things. But walking doesn't increase your ventricular oxygen intake. So the
What about
VO2.
swimming?
Swimming, I personally think, according to data, is,
Not good enough.
it has very little health benefits.
There's no weight bearing.
It's not weight bearing. You're floating in the water, you're using muscles, but you're not putting pressure on the bones that need it.
So, I mean, in this picture, it shows that the head is making stem cells.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the brain, yeah, the brain does, the Chinese call the brain the sea of marrow. But the circulation isn't the same.
What do you have to do, bang your head like this?
Yeah. Well, there is knocking to get, if you look over here at my acupuncture charts,
Right.
you see all these channels running over here, coming around the head,
Right.
coming down there. So actually massaging your head, like you could do it right now. You could just kind of, first of all, just kind of go front to back, and the channels are running this way, right? And there's yeah, you could pat them a little bit, so we do it in our class, we pat them.
But what does it do for you to do this?
Well, you're gonna stimulate some of those, those stem cells that are up there and try to get them to circulate. There's something that I call the FONS. There's an acupuncture channel called the triple burner that helps regulate, it's something that helps regulate stuff that comes into your body, which happens in your head, stuff that is assimilated in your body, meaning once I bring it in, my lungs and my stomach then have to distribute it. And then I have the lower function that gets rid of the waste. So the Chinese call that the triple burner. So one of these runs around your head like this, and so there's something called I call the FONS. So you put your thumb like this and you say, hey. So you want to have the whole thumb, all those knuckles there, touch the head. So, and it'll feel really comfortable because it'll go into little, everybody has a little bumps in their head, right? You have little crevices that are there. So it's like, if you bring that down, that's going to help you. Actually, it will calm you. When you're agitated and irritated, it will calm you, and it'll help stimulate that, particularly the upper part of the burner.
What, I'm sorry, what was the triple burner thing? I'm sorry.
It's the acupuncture channel. That's the first burner is your head that you bring things in. You eat something or you breathe.
Okay.
The middle burner is your lungs and stomach. It's where you're assimilating what you brought into your body. So I brought food into my stomach is going to start to absorb that and send it out into the bloodstream. I brought things into my lungs, oxygen. I'm going to then pump that back into the heart. It's going to move into the heart going to pump it out to deliver it to the cell.
Okay.
The third burner is the waste.
Got it.
You're going to get the
Okay.
poop out and your
you.
crap out.
Thank you.
So they call that the triple burner.
Thank you.
Yes.
For the mechanotransduction on the head, what is the pressure that you're looking for to?
That's something that's really interesting. When I went to that bone, if I go back to that bone amount, so it's amount of electricity that can be generated. So sometimes it could be a very light F barrage coming through it, or padding. So I would do a light padding. And with the FONS. So you wake it up, oh, wake up in there, and then calm. Do I look okay? 93% of human longevity is non-genetic. If you had a genetic problem, it would have manifested itself by the age of 20, 25. So if you did have it manifest by then, it is definitely genetic.
What age? 45?
20. By 25, it will have you've recognized it. It would become a problem. If it happens after that, it's not hereditary. It's something that has been, the gene has been altered from other reasons, for other sources. So it's always found out early. And only 7% of all diseases, by the way, the other one I put is 10, we found out now it's down to 7%, is hereditary or genetic, meaning it's passed on to you, there's nothing you can do about it. By the way, I have 5 brothers, they all have a full head of hair. I know why my hair loss is there. By the way, it has to do with my kidney functions. So although my kidneys work well keeping me going, but in Chinese medicine, they say that because I have a lot of fire, my fire is constantly trying to be doused by my water from the kidneys. And so I'm wearing out my kidneys. So in Chinese lore, it's a little bit different. In Chinese medicine, it's a little different.
You
And
can
even though I
get
know
some
that,
to grow your hair though.
yeah, so it does go through cycles and grows back, and then I get overly excited about things, and my kidneys flare up, and it's like, I massage them, and then I start losing a little bit of my hair. We have the shortest life expectancy than almost all other high-income countries. We rank 31st in life expectancy.
Well, that's in part because of our healthcare system.
I agree, Mayor, I agree. I think it's part of the healthcare system. Also level of pollutants.
And
The number of food sources, like we have foods that are allowed in our, about at least 31 foods that I know of, that is probably in 80% of a person's diet, that is banned in Europe.
Like what?
But anything that has red dyes, mostly the red dyes are the biggest ones that are banned. So things have like your Pops, your Skittles, little snacks and things that people have, they're full of chemicals, and they're banned in other countries. We also have pharmaceuticals that are allowed here that you take as a drug, and that's prescribed, that's also banned in other countries, because they found they're carcinogenic or create other health problems, mostly carcinogen. But we allow them. So our healthcare system is a little bit broken. Yes?
I personally say that rather than blame the healthcare industry, that it really comes down to self-care.
I agree with you, self-care is a key. And if the healthcare industry would encourage you to have self-care, you might do it. Because what we were told, trust the experts, right? The experts say, take this drug. The experts say, have this surgery. The experts say, do these other interventions. Right, because it's an industry. But the experts said, did you exercise today? Did you get your walk in today? Did you have your diet looking at those different food groups properly? If they're telling you that, you would probably do it. And the responsibility does come up to you. But when it's not encouraged, I think that's a problem. So that's all I'm saying, is it's not encouraged. Life expectancy. This is up until, by the way, this data is skyrocketed in the downward trend in the last 3 years. But I did this showing what's happening as far as our total life expectancy, and it has been decreasing here. Other countries, it is not. So do with that what you will.
So why is it decreasing here? Just because of what we were talking about?
Yes, for all the things we're talking about. So you're not exercising, we're overweight, we're getting food sources that are not healthy for us. We have more pollutants in our body that create free radicals in our body. So other countries are having other countries have what type of healthcare systems?
Socialized medicine.
It's socialized medicine. You're able to go to the doctor. And they say, okay, they do promote exercise more than other countries than we do here. They do promote healthy lifestyles more than we do here.
Well, it just depends where you live too. Like, I lived in Boulder, Colorado. It's the number one town in the country that has people who are exercising. And then Breckenridge, Colorado too.
Yes. Yeah, that's excellent. Yeah.
It just
So
depends.
it
where you
depends on
live.
what you think is the right thing to do as far as your culture is concerned. In other countries, they do like walking. They do like being outdoors.
I've been involved in agriculture almost all my life, and the prevalence of glyphosate in the last 15, 20 years has been really staggering. Have you heard much
Yeah.
about?
That's a whole nother talk about like glyphosate and its effect on your cells. Glyphosate is in all of our, many of our food. Buy organic, you don't have to worry about
You
that.
can do a quick nutshell on that though, like what you think is going on there?
The cell's changing. It's affecting the cell. So as the cell regenerates, remember, the more you have that chemical in your body, the cell cycle is limited cycle. It has to regenerate. So as it regenerates, these other things are attaching to it. So when it attaches to it, that cell is becoming mutated. And when a mutated cell, again, when it gets too mutated, that's when you have the total breakdown of it, and again, predicting of cancers. That's what glyphosate is connected with. So the cancer rate and glyphosate are the key link.
Excuse me, did I hear you saying gluten can cause free radicals?
Glyphosate,
Roundup.
glyphosate.
It's not gluten.
No, not leucine, glyphosate, yeah, that's added to our food, or when you grow
Glypho,
food.
what is it called?
It's Roundup, it's a
It's
weed
Roundup,
killer,
it's a
weed killer.
herbicide.
Yes. Glyphosate.
What is it?
It's a chemical that's used to stop
If you're looking-
pesticides
if you're
and other
looking
things.
Wait, one at a time.
Right.
So we have here.
It's weed killer.
You didn't want to get sidetracked on this.
I did.
They also use it on lawns, you can go buy it in the hardware store, your neighbor might be using it.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It's on your food.
It's on your, it gets into
What
your
about
food.
organic food? It's not.
No, it's not organic
Not
foods.
organic.
Organic foods, that's why you want to be supporting your food co-op and get the organic foods in your body. An average life cycle ought to be 120 years. Again, this is from current science. My masters told me the human life is designed to last 120 years. They said that's what the 2,000 years ago they told them. They said the first 60 years are to be your yang years, the next 60 years are to be your yin years. Yang years mean you're active, doing things, growing, reproducing, and then the second 60 years you're not as active anymore. So you have a yin and yang phase. They said when you're your first yang phase of doing a lot of things, you would need to balance that with learning how to meditate, learning how to calm yourself, how to reduce stress. Your second 60 years, you better learn how to start increasing your activity because you're generally slowing down. You got to make sure you get that walk in every day. Make sure you go do an exercise. Get to your Tai Chi class.
But there's no historical proof that people before, that any people have generally lived
We're-
120 years.
Well,
I mean,
well,
there occasionally somebody 105 or something, you know, rare people.
we're talking about what the cells are telling us. So the cell lifespan is showing that this is what ought to be the average lifespan for a human.
Yeah.
Um,
That's what people are trying to attain now.
Yes, and again, I told you, I think it's going to be. I'm pretty sure I'll make at least 115. So I'll let you know.
Well, I'm gonna make 100.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
If you live healthy, there's really no reason why you can't. Truthfully,
We'll come
Um,
and visit you.
if you live a healthy lifestyle with proper exercise and diet, there really isn't any reason why you're not. And there's things that you can do again to help things. Okay, senescent cells. I told you about them. I told you about natural killer cells. I told you about not all fats are equal. Some fats are better than others. This oxidative stress on the bottom, it creates reactive oxygen species, which means a free radical. So as free radicals build up in your body, they damage your cells. A cytokine production, tissue can produce these pro-inflammatory cytokines. A cytokine is just something that attaches to your cell. Okay, and as cells, we need cytokines for some protection of cells, but when they add to a cell, they can start breaking down the cell itself. But I don't want to get you into the details of too much biology. Activation of senescent cells in different age-related pathologies. These senescent cells have been observed in different diseases, such as osteoarthritis, pulmonary fibrosis, cancers, arterial cirrhosis, Alzheimer's disease, and different types of frailty. When a cell malfunctions, it can potentially harm the whole multicellular organism. So you have different cells inside of a whole organ. So my lungs, I have a whole bunch of alveoli in there. My heart has a whole bunch of myocardiocytes, the muscle cells. Doesn't have just one. But if I have one that's dead in there, because remember that the heart cells only last 10 to 15% are replaced every year at a minimum. So if it's sitting there not being pulled out, it's going to damage the rest of the organ. So we got to get these senescent cells out of the body. And it tells you some of the specifics about how you do that. What happens with the brain is something that's also very interesting, is that, I said the first thing is that inflammation takes place. So these senescent cells are also taking place inside of our brain. And then you have something On the neuron, you have a glial cell that's sitting there, and a senescent cell was developed because that cell died, and you don't have blood flow going up there. So you're actually building up a form of plaque in your brain. So all dementia and Alzheimer's disease is literally having like a plaque buildup along the neural cells inside your brain. They're not being taken out. And they're not being taken out because you don't have enough of your immune system functioning and flowing up there to take them out. And you're not doing that because you don't have enough brain activity. So, we have people saying, oh, if you do a crossword puzzle, to get brain activity. But it really doesn't work. But if you do something like this, you're going to have some brain activity. So make a fist like this. Keep your thumbs tucked in. Make your left hand put out its index finger. Make your right hand put out the baby finger. Pretty simple. Okay? Now change it. And then change it. And change it. Keep your thumbs tucked in. Don't let the thumbs come up. Don't let the thumbs come up. Keep your thumbs tucked in. So top and bottom, top and bottom, top and bottom. Keep the thumbs tucked in. It's important to keep the thumbs tucked in. Okay? All right, so a simple thing, what this does is creates left and right brain neural firing. And there's other simple things like a bunny rabbit being chased by a gun. Okay, so one hand makes a gun, the other one a bunny rabbit. Make the bunny rabbit be towards me. Okay, now just change it. Rabbit, gun chases the rabbit. Right. Okay, so what this literally creates is firing in the cells up here. That increases blood flow. And then when blood is there, if it has enough stem cells, it's going to take away the dead cell that was accumulating there. And by the way, if you chase it past the midline of your body, like Mary was doing, if you chase it past where your nose is basically, then the other hemisphere of the brain has to kick in. So
Is there an artificial way to get rid of the dead cells? Can you do
there
it?
may be some, it's possible if you have some form of electrical stimulation that might do it.
But nothing in your practice that can get rid of.
I put needles in people's heads.
Oh, that.
Yeah, so, yeah,
Oh,
right. So I put needles in their heads and I stimulate them with different things. If I have to zap, I might do.
Fasting does that, doesn't it?
Fasting does other things that happens in the brain, but it doesn't take away that
Really?
waste product.
Wow.
What it does is stimulates other things that would try to take away the waste, because you have more waste that have to be taken away. So when you start fasting, you're going into a place of, the body goes into a trigger state of, oh my gosh, I'm in big trouble. I'm not getting what I'm supposed to get into it. So it starts looking at tissues and starts trying to get waste out of the body quickly to be able to make a more efficient use of what you have in there. So it does it in that way. It's a secondary process. This is primary. It goes right to it. And by the way, these are on my websites. If you want to look at the YouTube channel, you can see how to do all this and practice it. And we do bigger things with our hands as well.
What's
So,
your website? Or your channel?
It's Richard Lear on YouTube. You go to YouTube and just type in Richard Lear.
How do you spell your last name?
Leirer.
It's on the.
Leirer.
Or if you just type in taoisttaichi.com. That's one of my websites that I have, and that will take you, I'll give you my name and you can learn things from there. All right, this is what I mentioned earlier before about how all cells go through these 3 stages: inflammation, proliferation, maturation, and regeneration. So you don't have to go over that, but basically know that inflammation is not a bad thing by itself. The regeneration, proliferation, and regeneration are the stages that you really want to get to. All right. This fellow is a Harvard research. He's actually really a Harvard research fellow. He's published more than 60 scientific studies. Basically, his key thing is on the brain. But I want to tell you what he says. I want him to tell you what he says.
Called the reverse aging trial, where we targeted patients that were 65 years old. I shouldn't even call it patients because they were healthy. They did not have a stroke. They did not have a traumatic brain injury. no other brain pathology. They were just incredible people over the age of 65.
Like many of us.
And they went through the program. We induced those 4 components of regeneration.
And I'll show you this in a minute.
We were able to increase their cognitive function in memory, in attention, in information and processing speed. So that functional decline associated with aging has been reversed. We were able to know exactly which parts of the brain we were able to fix, to repair that tissue. We were able to show we're improving blood flow because we are creating new blood vessels in the brain, and that correlated again with better cognitive function. We even did it in even more advanced cases of aging, which is pathological aging, not healthy aging, what we call mild cognitive impairment, when the pathology in the brain is more advanced than just functional decline. Here, we were able again to increase blood flow by angiogenesis and improve cognitive function.
That means blood, new blood
But
formation.
think about this. I've told you that we have the small vessel disease happening in any organ. So not just the brain. So the 4 components of regeneration occurs everywhere, systematically, if you do them with the protocol, with the right protocol. That's why we were able to see systemic effects. So when we measured the same individuals in the trial, they improved their cardiopulmonary aerobic performance, more than 15%. There's a parameter called VO2 max, or the maximum consumption.
VO2 max, by the way, increased by 15%. Okay, now I'll tell you what the program you did in a minute. So,
that we know is one of the best predictors for mortality in older age. We were able to improve it. Because again, we regenerated tissue. Where? We correlated it with the blood flow in the heart. We did an again, they didn't want a biopsy of the heart. Sorry. So we did an MRI of the heart, and we were able to show that we're increasing the blood flow to the heart. So again, we're creating new small blood vessels in the heart for better perfusion that translate to better aerobic function. But not only the heart, we did MRI of the kidneys, and we showed we were able to repair the kidneys. And of course, the male genitalia.
and it goes on to other organs. So you're getting the idea that that this thing worked, okay? And so his process was trying to show the mechanism of action. So the mechanism of action is that you have to have oxygen, you have to have a trigger to make that oxygen do something, you have to have the stem cell get there, and the angiogenesis is the formation of blood vessels. So there's little small blood vessels that increase the ability for oxygen to enter into any cell of the body. Now his specialty, by the way, is hyperbolic chambers. So he was, what he said up there is HBOT. So first he had to find out how the system worked. And then he said, let's see what happens when we induce increased oxygen levels for people in the hyperbolic chambers that he used. But he also then went into key aspects, because you have to have these four components. I gotta get oxygen flowing, so this increased the amount of availability of oxygen. Then I gotta get a trigger, which means the cell has to be already, either the cell cycles in some place of being, having to make the new blood vessel come into it to help the cell cycle continue. The stem cell has to be delivered there, and then that new cell can be formed along with it. By the way, there are a couple of hyperbaric places here in town. There's two of them, I think. I've never been there, but it's not a coincidence. I met a lady today who runs one of them. So I'm gonna go check it out and see what it's like.
Who is the lady?
What is that?
It's a younger woman, Rebecca.
Rebecca, yeah,
Rebecca.
she's done some talks here too.
Yeah, so I met Rebecca. She also does blood work.
Yeah, yeah.
So she'll do blood work, look at your blood work and decide what type of hyperbolic. Anyway, so that's another tool resource in town. Very nice lady.
She also has light therapy over there too.
Yes, yeah.
That's cool.
You can see this, by the way, that's the necrotic brain on the right. You see, that's what it looks like. You don't want that to happen, right? So what are you gonna do? How do I look today?
What
Get
is
that.
that from? That?
Lack of blood flow, increasing amount of cellular death, senescent cells building up, stress, right, all those other factors. Oh, what he said about how much of VO2 oxygen increase. So studies on this in Tai Chi, by the way. So it said several studies investigated it and found a 12-week resulted in a significant increase of your ventricular oxygen intake with a mean change of 3.3 milliliters compared to control group. Also, people who had an heart attack, myocardial infarctions. So they use different types of control groups as compared to walking, by the way. They used a different control groups. So you could do something, like an easy Tai Chi class, and you would get everything that he said is important by walking gently, moving slowly, but still increasing the things that are needed to have your cells get the oxygen in it. It increases, Tai Chi is more aerobic than aerobic exercise. When I tell people that, they say, what? Because you're breathing deeply and moving slowly, and you're getting the oxygen coming into your body, and you're delivering it to the cell. If I'm running, how much oxygen am I bringing in? And what are my muscles doing in order to, are they flowing there? They're going to my major muscle groups to get them to move, but they're not going to the other muscle or cells in your body. But if I'm doing a slow motion movement like this, I'm going to bring in that oxygen because I'm breathing deeply, and that's going to be flowing out to every cell of my body. It's going to open up these acupuncture channels. It's going to create piezoelectricity. It's going to put inward downward pressure on your flat bones. Boy, it's going to make your body be so strong and healthy. You'll be amazed. You'll be able to do amazing things at 70 years old and not think anything of it. All right, epigenetics. Epigenetic means above the gene. When you are a couch potato, when you eat high-fat foods, when you're in an environment that has high polluted water, soil, the glyphosate in it. By the way, for us here, it is one of the highest particulate matters that we have here is, smoke, wood smoke. Wood smoke has an extremely high level of particulate matter in it, more than you would think. But it looks beautiful to watch it, right, in the fire crackling. But I go outside during the fall and winter, it's hard for me to breathe. When I cough and choke, it's like, because it goes right into I have really healthy alveoli. So, and it goes in there and it impedes it. And then if they attach to that cell, go into the oxygen, which is being sent into the blood, then I'm going to have basically, the creosol builds up on your chimney. You can get creosol building up in your cells or other forms of antioxidants. Stress. Oh my gosh. That psychoneuroimmunology thing, if you just take a moment and give yourself a big squeeze, give yourself a hug. Tell yourself you're awesome. Why not? Tell me I'm awesome. Tell yourself you're loved and lovable. Like, who wouldn't like this, right? This builds up incredible chemicals in your body that are wonderful for you. If you knew what it did, you'd be like, I want more of that. That's why we get needy. It's like, would you like me? Would you please like me? Oh, please like me. Tell me I'm okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for liking me. So when we become needy, we're looking for self-approval or approval from others rather than self-approval, then that creates stress if I don't get it. If Mary says, I think your lecture was crappy, I'm going to be like, oh my God, Mary didn't like me anymore, right? When I can simply say, oh, I love the lovable, right? When you fill yourself up with love, you can share it with anybody. But if you're not, you're going to be looking for it. You're going to be like a mad dog trying to find some scraps, right? And then you'll probably receive the scraps because that's what you're looking for. Now, what happens when you do something else? Oh, when you exercise, that's bone density increases over here. Endurance, strength, and flexibility. You have clean water, clean air. You don't smoke. You have good emotional health. You have good nutritional factors coming in with those different types of foods. Then you have a whole cycle that creates anti-inflammatory, antioxidants, and anti-mutation. So all the things that are breaking down and causing you to have chronic disease and sickness is going to go away. And you don't have to run. I didn't like that picture there. It wasn't one I made. I remember I said running actually does not lead to longevity. I saw a study that showed 3 professions: runners, weightlifters, bicyclists, bicyclists, and golfers. The ones that lived the lowest amount, in the mid-60s, were the bicyclists and the runners. Those that lived the longest were 4 or 8, or I don't know what it was. They lived into their 80s.
Who lived to under 20?
Certain masters I know. And I'll let you know when I'm there. So. Yeah, so that's interesting. So what does a golfer do that the runners and the weightlifters don't do?
They move.
They relax, they move, they're not putting extra stress inside their body. So remember, oxidative stress builds up when you tighten stress and don't soften and move. All right, the myocyte is about the heart. Let's go real quickly here. Process of aging offers an extraordinary example of effects of the changing balance between cell death and cell growth on the pathological restructuring of the heart. The accepted paradigm claims that the number of ventricular myocytes, a myocyte is a heart muscle, it's one little cell of a heart muscle, is established at birth, and these cells contract and maintain cardiac function until the death of the organism. However, it is now clear that myocytes undergo continuous turnover, and dying cells are constantly replaced by newly formed myocytes. In the aging heart, a subpopulation of myocytes undergoes DNA replication and mitosis, which means cell division, and another subpopulation undergoes hypertrophy, which is a death of that cell, and it's taken away. There is no doubt that myocyte death occurs throughout the lifespan of the organism, independent from cardiac disease in the normal heart. The rate of cell death increases with age, and after middle age, it's not balanced by a normal increase in new myocyte formation. But it could be. That's the point I'm trying to tell you. The only reason it's not is because you're not walking. You're not doing the exercises that are needed to make new cells. All new cells come from new stem cells. And where are new stem cells made in the adult? The flat bones. Inside the flat bones, in the bone marrow of those flat bones. By the way, that was 2003. So we only knew about these cells being remade 21 years ago. They didn't believe this was happening. But the Chinese knew 2,500 years ago. They said, of course your heart cell regenerates. They said it was like a moving river. Master Wong said, Richard, look at the river. I said, okay. Went like that. He said, look at the river again. Is it the same river? I said, yeah, it's the Cuyahoga River. He said, Richard, look at the river. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. I didn't. It's the same river. Then eventually it hit me. What's different?
Water.
The water. The water that was here is over there. And a new water came. So he was trying to tell me your body is like a moving water river. Its cell is here now, it's gonna die, it's gonna go away, another cell has to come and replace it. So you have to do certain things to make that happen. He knew that, told me that in 1978. Now, these guys didn't know it until 2003. So they're a little bit behind the curve. All right, I won't go into this too much. It's a type of cells that that make up the body. Just know it's being replaced. Okay. These parenchymal cells are having specific functions in the body, and those functions are extremely important. And this is the scientific aspects of things, but it doesn't have to be concerning you that much. But I want people to know why they're there and what they do. Yeah, I'll go
It's
back.
on his website.
This is DITW, Anatomy and Physiology, and you are watching the video on the organ parenchyma and stroma. The organs of the body are defined in anatomy as structures within the body composed of 2 or more different tissue types. There are 4 distinct tissue types: muscular, nervous, epithelial, and connective tissue types. Every organ is a combination of at least 2 of these 4 types. Each tissue layer of the organ performs either the main function of the organ or provides structural support to the organ. The tissue layers which play the main role in the function of the organ is referred to as the parenchyma. For example, the heart is an organ which contracts with the use of cardiac muscle to move blood through the blood vessels. So, the cardiac muscle would be considered the parenchyma of the heart since it helps perform this main function. The other tissues of the heart do not contribute to the contraction of the heart, but line the outside and inside of the heart and perform other supporting functions such as protection of the parenchyma and also provides form or shape to the structure. The supportive tissue layers which contribute to the secondary functions of the organ are called the stroma. For example, the part of the kidney which performs the main function, the parenchyma, are the nephrons. The surrounding structures and tissues that surround each of the nephrons throughout the kidneys would be considered the stroma. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it,
I thought it was interesting, and if I go back to this function of the parenchyma, so we're looking at its metabolic functions, its detoxification functions, its regulation of the body functions, how it produces immune cells in responding to inflammation and infections. It has a storage and secretion of hormones and enzymes. Damage to the parenchymal cells can lead to various diseases and disorders, including neurodegenerative disease, liver disease, respiratory disease, and kidney disease. So let's get an idea of what it is. Again, back to mechanotransduction again. It's basically broken down into 3 steps: mechanocoupling, cell-to-cell communication, and the response, which is the thing that it's doing. It's either going to tell the cell to produce electricity, or it's going to tell the bone to produce more blood and more stem cells. I said earlier that 2,500 years ago, the Chinese said there was Jing. And Jing is the word that they used for what I believe is called the stem cell. So there's a curtain stuff that's coming out now in some Chinese medical books that are saying this same thing. They're saying that ancient Jing is a essence of reproduction that can be completely correlated with what we call stem cell today. Qi is your bioenergy. It travels through your body. Your shed is your consciousness, and your consciousness is in the body and it's in organs. What's interesting is that the Chinese believe that your major organs hold consciousness. So not only do I say, remember the cell that flatworm would remember, even though its head was cut off, the Chinese believe that your liver, in fact, your liver's on your right side. If you pat it for a minute, just pat your liver on the right side, and make the sound shh, like you're quieting a baby. That's the healing sound for the liver. So every time I say shit, Last week, we had one person going the wrong way on the one-way chart, coming at me honking the horn. 2 weeks ago, it was 3 people in 5 days. So I have a tendency to be angry, right? So the sign reminds me to work on my liver. So it's a healing sound for the liver. The Chinese say the liver, by the way, if you think anger, go out, a little more kindness in. The season is springtime, color is green, element is wood. So all of Chinese medicine loves that for things having to do with the liver and the gallbladder. The consciousness is that the liver is said to be the general. General leads the army. Ride the horse to shoot the tiger. So the general is to get your body active, to get it excited, is to get it to lead the troops. When you're in a state of depression, your liver functions are bad. So when you're like, you're in chronic fatigue, you can't do anything, you can't get up and go. So we know it's a liver function in Chinese medical model because the general is just on a binge and doesn't want to get anything done. The lungs are said to be the governor. By the way, to rub your lungs here, just kind of rub them. The healing sound for your lungs is like a snake. Think sadness and grief go out. Sadness. Let a little more courage in. Its season is fall, color is white, element is metal. So pat them and rub them. That's said to be the governor of the body. So the governor has to take care of everything. So the governor is saying, oh, how do I make sure everything's working all right? So when you, by the way, take deep breaths, you're filling up the governor with lots of energy so it can do its job to look after your body. You rub your left side underneath your ribs, that's your spleen, pancreas, and part of your stomach. The sound for that is whoo, whoo, like an owl, whoo. Think worry go out. And let more compassion come in, because all the worry you're doing, right? So, season is late summer, color is yellow, element is earth. So, whoo. This is said to be the great administrator. The great administrator is sometimes also called the accountant or the bean counter. So when I was working teaching Tai Chi to kids here, I said, if you're ready to do your test, rub your spleen and make the healing sound ooh, because it will activate memory. It's the administrator that has a consciousness that's held there to help you remember things. What was that person I met back in 1972? Like, who was that person? Right? It will help activate memory.
Is it clockwise or counterwise?
Well, actually, it's kind of weird because it's going to go. If you want to increase it, go clockwise, as if the clock is on you.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to decrease it, go counterclockwise.
Why would we decrease it?
Why would we want to decrease it?
Generally, just do it clockwise. Because I have to go into another lecture about why you would want to decrease it. I could be in excess. So if I'm in excess, if the general is overexcited, it's like it's running around, can't stop doing anything, I don't know what to do, I just can't stop, I'm going to do it. I want to sedate that and calm it down.
I was going to say that to me.
That's the lungs, right?
Yeah, so you want to sedate the liver, and so if I'm in a depressed mode, I want to stimulate it clockwise, but if I'm in the hyper mode, the manic state, I want to go counterclockwise, as if the clock is on me. So that's why we have these different things, and you've got to study and learn a little bit more about them. The kidneys, by the way, so rub your kidneys in back, just kind of rub back here for a moment. Your kidneys are said to be the banner holders, yeah, fear. They call it the banner holders, or I call them the cheerleaders, okay? Fear, when fear hits here, that's what you want to do, is you want to make fear go out and let a gentleness in. The healing sound is like blowing out a candle, like. But they also will get you excited. So when the adrenals squeeze, they call them the banner holder because the banner holder would then tell the general where to go. It would be, rally those troops, get them going, we need to get them in this certain place. So the banner would say, Division A, follow this flag, and Division B, follow that flag, and go attack the enemy. Then you have this last one, which is the heart. So the healing sound for the heart. What would be the healing sound for the heart? Do you remember the healing sound for the heart? Like, Ha. Ha. And think sorrow go out. A little more joy and happiness come in. Ha. Season is summer, color is red, element is fire. This is said to be the Empress or Emperor. So the Empress sits in the heart, or the Emperor sits in the heart. Now, is the Emperor and Empress bothering with all the minute details? Normally, no. That's why they have those other people there. The general takes care of making sure the place is safe. The administrator makes sure we got funds in the coffer. The stomach, spleen, and pancreas. The cheerleaders are back here. We need to rally the troops. The general's going to help us. The governor is taking care of all that stuff. But the emperor makes final decisions. So when the emperor listens to all of these other organ consciousness, so their kidneys are whispering, hey, emperor, guess what? And more importantly, the lung, because that's the governor. They're going to talk to the governor first before the governor is going to take it to the emperor or empress. So the lungs are most important to get the emperor or empress to be calm, making good decisions about your empire. So if you put your hand here on your chest, put your other hand here below your belly. About 1.3 inches below your belly is the center of your body. If you measure yourself, divide it by 2, it'll be just below your belly. Now, breathe in, feel your top hand by your heart. Breathe out, feel the bottom hand by your belly. Just breathe in and feel the top hand. And breathe out, feel the bottom hand. We'll do about 3 or 4 more. Just breathe in, feel the top hand. Breathe out, feel the bottom hand. Now, what does your hand feel like? What sensation would you say your hand has?
Supportive.
Support, alive?
Warm.
Warm? Is it warm? Okay. What does your face feel like?
Relaxed.
Relaxed? Like, I'm starting to sweat. Okay? From just breathing in, thinking here, breathing out, thinking there. So the emperor, because the lung is helping the emperor get more oxygen, and it's beginning to circulate it. But I'm also thinking down here, which is the center of the body. This is a famous, it's called Chichen Shadantian. I want to be able to move the energy from one place and store it here below the belly. So this is said to be a storage center to make the medicine of your body. So even though all those stem cells are doing things, this place is a highly electrical generating area.
Is this like the solar plexus?
Solar plexus would be here, below the ribs. This is in India they would call it the hara. In Chinese they'll call it the shadantia. You might have heard of harakari, Harry Carey. So what we used to call it, right? So what is harakari? They would usually, if they wanted to end their life, they would take a knife, but they would put it into the hara and then lift up. But why not go right to the heart? So they wanted to go to the energetic center. They wanted to go here first and then up. So I'm not suggesting anybody do that, by the way, but I do want you to make this connection between the heart and the lower abdomen. There's an acupuncture channel that's going to run down the front here. It's black line. It starts below your lip and it comes down and connects at the perineum. So this channel is called, in Chinese it's called the renmai. It's known as the conception vessel. So it's something that's going to drop down and it will draw not only the oxygen that you're, when I breathe in, I can't take all of the oxygen I'm breathing in. I don't have enough alveoli in there. I actually breathe in more than I need. even here at 7,000 feet of elevation. So, but I do bring in chi. So I want the chi to go down here as my lungs are absorbing as much as they can. So that's a way to get more energy to store here below your belly. So the fastest way to do that is actually, it will increase your metabolism, it will increase your energy level and make you really strong by just thinking, breathe in, feel the chest, breathe out, feel the abdomen. And at the same time, it'll calm you down. So it'll bring you more energy in a calm way. All right, consciousness. We talked about that. I'm ending here. Let me get to that. Somehow this jumped out. The current focus in medicine is on genetic basis of disease. It is not necessary to correct the underlying genetic defect in order to treat clinically relevant symptoms or relieve pain and the morbidity of disease. Most of the clinical problems that bring a patient to the doctor's office result from changes in tissue, structure, and mechanics. Although these physical alterations have been commonly viewed as the end result of the disease process, advances in mechanobiology suggest that the abnormal cell and tissue responds to mechanical stress and that may actively contribute to the development of many diseases and ailments. So if you have the right mechanical transduction on your body, you're not going to have chronic disease. Okay? That starts from my first thing I said that only 3 or 7% of your diseases are hereditary, that the rest are something you can do. Hot areas of research. Stem cells and telomere regeneration. Stress shortens the telomere. Telomere is at the end of the cell, tells it how many times it can reproduce. How many times will go through the cell cycle of reproduction. People who regularly meditate have longer telomeres. People who have friends have longer telomeres. People who regularly eat sugar-laden and processed foods have shorter telomeres. People who regularly eat healthy have longer telomeres.
What is a telomere?
A telomere is a little marker at the end of your cell that every time the cell divides, it makes a mark and lets it know it can redivide again. When they get shortened, when they're gone, you will have no cell division anymore. So you won't be able to replace the cell.
And then you die?
That cell will begin to die, and then if more of those cells die, then the organ that it's supporting will eventually die. So you'll have a disease.
I like the last one.
Yeah. People have regular sex have longer telomeres. That's what she's saying. Astronauts have shorter telomeres. Why do you think they would have shorter telomeres?
Because they're not on Earth.
They're not on Earth. No gravity. No mechanotransduction. No weight bearing. They're floating around. That's why swimming really doesn't do you that good, because you're floating around. It does a little bit of arm and leg strength. Sunbirds who smoke or vape have shorter telomeres. People who regularly have short sleep. Sleep patterns are kind of interesting if you balance them. Say you're not a good sleeper, but if you get within the night or within a cycle, somewhere between that 7 to 9 hours, that would be good. So maybe I sleep from only 11 o'clock until 4 o'clock in the morning. That's only 5 hours. But then maybe I'll wake up, go to the bathroom, and then come back and sleep for another 2 or 3 hours. So that's fine if you do that. It's best to get it all at once, because your body will have more chance to regenerate. But don't fret too much if you're getting it in broken levels. It will increase your stress if it's broken. You'll feel so much better if you could get it all the way. By the way, if you exercise, you probably sleep better. And if you did this, right? Remember,
Oh, yes.
you're loved and lovable. And if you have sex regularly. Okay? Higher levels of optimism experience a 35% lower risk of cardiovascular events compared to those with lower optimism. Oh, so I wanted to leave you with optimistic thoughts. You could do something. Again, I mentioned we live in a culture of, I call it, there's actually, if everybody in here of Eric Berne. So Eric Berne is a wonderful transactional analysis. So he has something called the games people play. The games people play talks about one thing called Ain't It Awful. So it's a little game called Ain't It Awful. And when I first read this in the late 80s, I was amazed by how often it's played. And so we're to play the game together. But Ain't It Awful doesn't have optimistic aspects to it. So I have a good friend who always, I need to talk about things. I need to say, God, the world's a crap, blah, 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 blah. I need to get off my chest. But my friend that I talk to it about says, oh, you're all filling me with negativity. Don't you have anything good to say? Don't you have anything that's positive? It's like, yes, I'm positive it could change if we know that it's bad now. So I'm positive you'll make better health decisions if you know what to do and how to do them. Again, different specifics about how pessimism damages your cell. Optimists tend to live longer. They gave a study of how much longer they live, by an average age of 85 years. So be confident.
I just have a question.
Tell yourself you're not. Yes.
So how do stem cells would help with the osteoporosis?
Okay. So.
Because it's mostly a lack of hormones or estrogen.
Yeah, so osteoporosis and osteopenia are two things that work together. So the bone is reforming. So inside the bone marrow, you're making a new bone, making a new stem cell. Okay? Now, all bone is made by new stem cells. So that's called a osteoblast. So an osteoblast is made from a stem cell inside the bone marrow. When the bone on the outside dies, that's called an osteoclast. An osteoclast has to be reabsorbed back into the bone again. So osteoporosis and osteopenia are mostly when the osteoclasts are greater than the osteoblast being formed. That's why weight-bearing exercise is most important for osteoporosis. If you do weight-bearing exercise, you'll increase the osteoblast and then reabsorb the osteoclast, which is the bone reabsorption that's taking place after the, remember, bone only lasts a certain period of time. 10% is lost a year. Yes?
I have another question. What do you think about the stem cell injections into like knees and different body parts to help meniscus or just
Yes.
help in general? What do you
So,
think about that?
what happens is that if they take your stem cell, that's good.
Right.
If they take your stem cell, it might not help me.
They take your
Right,
own.
so I know. So they usually take them from the bone marrow, usually of the hip.
Right.
Sometimes they're taking them now, by the way, that they're taking them from fat cells. So they can grow them and reproduce them. They can increase them. But they're not as powerful as your bone marrow stem cells
Right.
are. So they will help when they are there. But the problem is when I inject it into my knee, it's going to be there for a period of time, but my blood's going to pick it up and send it somewhere else. So it's going to be really good for the whole part of your body, and what can stay there will be good for that body part. So they're looking at trying to find a way to make a patch. Remember like the nicotine patches they made for people to let it enter into the cell? So they're trying to make stem cell patches that would be able to be absorbed continuously at the site of injury.
That would be
So they work well, but the problem is the stem cells don't live that long outside of a certain environment. So
it doesn't make
but
sense.
I did read the research on this, and they're trying to do it. They're trying to make it last longer. So if you could be continually getting the injections over a period of time, and that's what they're doing now. They're saying you have to come for a 3 or 4 time frame. They're looking at, remember I said the life cycle of the cell, of blood, by the way, is as low as 80 days to 120 days. So they're looking at the cell, how long it's going to stay alive when it's trying to stay at that spot. But it's also going to circulate. So remember, it may be injected here, but it also is going to be picked up and sent to other parts of your body, which would be, will help everything. It'll be very beneficial for everything. So I have great hope for it, particularly when they learn how to make it be
a patch.
Now, what if you rubbed it 2 or 3 times a day?
That's a good
And you
thing.
did your walking earlier in the day, you made more stem cells, you massaged it, and then if you put a heat on it or even a compression sock or a compression sleeve, that puts the mechanotransduction there, and that's going to increase the blood flow there. But you only have to have it for a little while, because after a while the compression decreases blood flow. So it has to be just the right amount of time to do it. So you can increase all health problems by the pressure massage. And I was mentioned earlier to Raina is that particularly for the knee, there's acupuncture points that are over here and over here. That are coming down your legs. So if you go on the outside of your knee, top and bottom, and then go into what we call the eyes of the knee, the xian points, where it's soft and spongy. That's where you're building the cartilage. That's what your osteoarthritis begins to develop there. That doesn't get taken out because your lymphs aren't being drained properly. And then that begins to build up. And then just below it, so it's like a number 6 on the dominoes. So above the knee, the middle of the knee, the spongy part,
And
the
this
bottom of
makes
the knee,
stem cells?
and then behind the knee. This increases your stem cell flow to your knee to keep good knee health. So, yeah, so if you're doing them every morning, they really will, you ought to be able to, my knees make a little noise when it went down, right?
So you need to do
because-
this more?
Well, yeah, I probably could do it more, but I'm squatting flat-footed on the ground, so that's giving me mechanotransduction on my hips, right? Because I got my pressure of my body coming onto the hip joint. But my knees are able to do that without a difficulty if you're constantly doing stuff. By the way, if you're in a Tai Chi class, you're going to be bending the knee, strengthening it. Now, I didn't get into the lymphs in this class, but I did it before. Your lymph system, they run downward. So all of your lymphs go down. They don't go up. So you have your lymph system is what's taking the waste out of your body. So those senescent cells, those dead cells, the things that attack the virus or the bacteria, it destroyed it and it put it into your lymphatic vessels. So your lymphatic vessels flow all the way down to your toes. But the problem is they have to get up to your neck. They got to get up mostly to your left jugular vein. The only way they can move is for the muscle to contract. So skeletal muscles have to contract and release in order to move that fluid all the way up. So there's 3 places that are important. Behind the knee, if you touch back there and it feels fatty and full, that lymph node there is already filled with poison. Okay? The next step is going to be, so it has to go from here, it keeps coming upward, it's going to go into your groin. If you press in here and find little bumps in there, like little nodules and stuff, those are your lymph nodes already filled with poison.
Now, what makes it poisonous?
Because your cells die. Remember, your cell died. Your cell only lives so long. That's a poison. It's pulled out of your body.
Dead.
Now you got to get it up to here. So right below your sternum is called the cisternal colli. So, thank you, Mary. So here, if you put your finger here and bend forward a little bit, and then come back. You feel how that muscle moves? No, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I've moved it from here to my left jugular vein. When I dump it into the left jugular vein, it's been broken down into parts, because it's poison being broken down in smaller parts. It's going to be put back into the bloodstream, so it'll be filtered by your kidney and your liver. And that will take it out, you'll poop it out, and you pee it out. So that's the system. But if I'm laying in my bed and not doing anything, this is all going to build up with waste. And as they build up with waste, you're going to become more and more toxic. And as you become toxic, you're going to have all kinds of diseases and problems take place. So exercise, 21 minutes a day.
Now, if you
Move the major
exercise
muscle groups.
more, is that good? If you exercise more?
We don't need more than a...
45.
Yeah, exercise more is fine. Right.
45.
Right. Yeah, as long as you get at least a minimum of 150 minutes a week. So that's the number that we've seen as being. You increase the superoxide dismutase. So you want to have superoxide dismutase cleans away free radicals. It's called SOD, superoxide dismutase. It's a chemical that's made in your body by certain exercises, good exercises, that takes away free radicals or oxidative stress. Weightlifting does not build superoxide dismutase. Walking will, Tai Chi will. Laughing, singing, gargling to stimulate the vagus nerve. So let's end with a the vagus nerve is inside your body. It's near where your Adam's apple is. It's right above there. So the brainstem comes into it. All of the eyes, ears, nose, and throat go into it. The arms have the peripheral nervous system that connects here at the base of the brainstem. That's going to stimulate it. So listening to music stimulates the vagus nerve. But making sounds stimulates it through the ears and the throat itself. So why don't you do me a favor and simply do an Om with me, right? Now I'll tell you a little secret. In the Om there is 3 parts. There's the O part, the Chi coming, the Ah part, the Chi present, the Hum part, the Chi leaving. This gave you an ancient Chinese secret. Now, if I put my hand on my knee that was hurting me, and I thought, as I chanted, Oh, Chi coming to the place that hurts. Ah, Chi present and doing proliferation. Hum, Chi taking out the dead cells. You would just, I'm teaching you something advanced Chinese healing technique. So try it once. That was beautiful. Let's do 2 more. Chi coming, Chi present, Chi leaving. 1 more time. What does your hand and knee feel like? Do you have increased heat? Some of you will. I have a lot of heat in mine. And then, by the way, if I look at my hands, they become blotchy. Yes, they become that. You've increased the blood flow and you didn't even do anything, but you did something. So yeah, you got it. Because you'll have you'll have blotchy. You put your hand up for a minute. Just hold your hands up like that for a second. Just hold them there. Don't do anything else but hold them. Just hold them. Don't do anything but them. Just hold them. Put them back together. What do they look like?
Stinging.
Sting.
They don't
Right.
look as blotchy.
Yeah. What do they feel like now?
They're cooler.
The tingling?
A little bit.
Is it because of what you did?
Yes. We can do fun things with Chi. I told you I was in the hospitals. Surgeries I did with the hospital. I didn't touch the patient. First surgery was a gallbladder removal. At Cleveland Clinic Hospital. I moved the Chi away from where they're going to do the incision. They made the cut. Hardly any blood came out. I remember the look on their faces. Doctors looked at me, they looked at each other, looked back at me, looked at the patient, pulled out the gallbladder, stitched it, I pushed the Chi back in, became bright red and inflamed. They had 2/3 less blood loss and faster recovery time. They said, do it again. Okay.
I've seen videos where the Chinese people are doing chanting and it melts away a tumor.
Yes. So these things are real.
Yeah.
And those people who were expert at that are ones that taught me. And again, I did three surgeries, and they said, well, we can't have you in every operation. What could you do? And I said I could teach them how to do little exercises by laying in bed, by being in a wheelchair, by coming out into the hallway, and it worked. That's why they let me do their programs there. So Qi can be admitted at a distance, but you have to have Qi. You have to have extra. Because if I don't have enough, I don't want to give you any, right? I got to take care of myself. What's the first rule when you're supposedly
Take care of yourself first.
yeah, because you can't help anybody else if you don't, right? You need to, when the oxygen mask comes down, they tell you, put the oxygen on yourself first before you help somebody else. So you get the things you need first to let somebody else take it. So when you know how to work with Qi, when you know how to open up all of these channels, when you know how to flow, then you can learn how to manipulate it like anything else. So I can move Qi like I would throw, again, look at my hands, right? Because I'm talking to you, right? I can make this go away in a minute. When you know about how Qi works in your body, you can stimulate things you never would believe. So anyway, I hope you learned a little bit of something. And at the bottom here, know that you're loved and lovable. So give yourself a nice hug, right? So know that you are. Please exercise. Exercise a little bit. Even if it's walking from here to somewhere else. Don't be hard. Stiffness affects the body. Be soft. Be soft. But at the same time, be strong. So think of a tree. Think of a plant. So don't be, weak. Be strong, but also be soft. Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate you for coming out. This will be, in a couple days, this will be on the YouTube channel. And the PowerPoint presentation will be accessed through my website. So I'll have it on there. So you can look at it anytime.
Okay.
Thank you.
How do you spell your name again?
Thanks for all your energy.
They all-
Thank you.